Kaltema Frapo. Hello everyone, welcome to the first actual part of the Forest Navi course. I know it's supposed to be a grammar video, but the first chapter doesn't have any grammar video. Instead you get how to learn Navi. So some tips and tricks on how to learn the language. As always, you can find the Reef Navi version of this video linked in the video description. The first question that we get from a lot of new learners is, where should I start learning? Because many people come to the community and have never learned a language before. So it makes sense that maybe also you might be confused how to start this. Learning a language is a big thing. And there is no straightforward answer to this because it depends on what your goal is. So that's the question that you should ask yourself first. It could be that you only want to learn a few Navi phrases as a party trick for your family. It might be that you want to translate some specific sentences for a fan fiction, or it could be that you actually want to learn the entire language and want to be able to hold conversations in it. All of these are valid. You should learn as much as you want and as much as you need so you can fulfill your own goal. This course and also the rest of the video will assume that your goal is to actually speak the Navi language. So you want to learn it from the basics up till being able to hold full conversations about any topic in Navi. For that, there are a few vital steps that you should take. Where should you start? You should start with resources. Make yourself familiar with the available resources. Save the ones you find appealing and helpful. This, of course, brings another question, namely, what resources do I need to learn Navi? I list here a bunch of very basic ones that everyone definitely needs. First is a dictionary. Dictionary is really very important because it helps you to look up words. It's where you find your words. There are many dictionaries, and I think there's even one on Amazon. I will show you the ones that are most trustworthy because they are maintained by known community members that actually know the language, and they are usually up to date. This is the first one, Reikonu. I'm using it currently in Forest Navi mode, so you don't need to change anything to get there. We can just look up a word. Let's look up hello. Then you see you get results for that. Very simple. But let's look up a verb, because I think that's interesting. One feature that many people miss, so I now search for taron, which means to hunt, is that you can click there and then you get infixes. So you can put in infixes. You will learn what exactly that is later. I just want to show this to you already, because once you learn infixes, you will probably love this feature. It shows you how the verb looks with different infixes. Some other notable features are the study feature. You have to be logged in for that, so you can make an account. It's free, it doesn't need any personal data and doesn't even need your email address. And once you have an account, you can click on study and then you can find a beginner vocabulary course. And very important, it has the Entei Dictionary included. What is the Entei Dictionary? Let's search for taron again. The Entei Dictionary shows you a bunch of official sentences, so these are not fan-made, these are actually official sentences that came either from a movie or from another official media or from Kaya Paul himself. And there you can see how a word is used, which is super important. So you should not only learn what a word means, but also what word type it has. So you see here VTR. And you should also learn how to use the word in the sentence. So the Entei Dictionary is one of the best things for that, and it is included in Reikonu, which is useful. Let's look at another dictionary, Fueo, which I'm also right now using in the Forest Navi mode. If we search for hello here, then we also get the same results. You can click on it to get more info. It has mostly similar data to Reikonu. For verbs, you see here for taron, it also shows your infix positions and everything. So yeah, very similar data to Reikonu. Some nice features that this has is random, so you can get random words, which I find very useful for practice and stuff like that. So if you want to practice certain things, you want to practice, for example, making sentences with a specific type of verbs, then you can do that. It also has a list function, so for example, I can search over all words that start with tin, I don't know. And then I get all these words, which can be very useful. And in other, you find some more features that can be very useful. An overview of lenition, which is a grammar thing that you will learn on later. A name generator, and so on and so on. So it also has a bunch of very useful features. Next is Dictionaries, which is I think the oldest of these. It works similar to the others. You can search something, then you find results. What I find really useful about this one is that it has word lists by groups. So here I see all the words that start with diphthong, so with this apostrophe, or all words that start with S. Reconnu also has an all words list. I didn't show you that, but I find it very useful to have them here by letter. And this is my favorite feature, topic groups. So I clicked on it and now I can, for example, look at all music related words, which I think is a super useful feature. Then I already talked about the Annotate Dictionary, and it is included in Reconnu, but it also exists as a PDF. So there you can find just everything that I just showed you in Reconnu with the example sentences, but the entire dictionary for it. The Annotate Dictionary, in my opinion, is the most important learning resource we have because it really shows you how to use every single word, which is super useful. And next, this is my own resource, so I'm a bit of self-advertisement here. The Verb Dictionary. This dictionary has only verbs. And why did I do it? Because the Annotate Dictionary is super useful, but sometimes the example sentences you find in there are just very long and very complicated, or some words don't have any official sentences. So I created this dictionary that shows you very simple sentences, very simple examples, how to use each verb. So which case endings do they use, which sentence structures do they use. This is, I think, a good way for beginners to learn about how to use different types of verbs. All of the dictionaries I just showed you, of course, are linked in the video description. You can just look around them yourself, can see which one you like the most, and then use that one. I personally use all of them actually for different things. So all of them have their advantages, and it's useful to know about all of them. When you learn words, by the way, make sure that you always also learn the word stress. So for example, let's try an English word, vocabulary. I say vocabulary, not vocabulary or vocabulary. In English, it is predictable which syllable is stressed. In Natvi, it is not. So in Natvi, you have to learn that. So just as a tip at the side, when you learn a new word, always make sure to also learn which syllable is stressed. Next, what you need is a grammar resource. Of course, you can just use this video course, but I can only recommend to also look around and look what other options there are. My way of explaining things might work for some, but it might not be perfect for everyone, and it's totally fine if you don't like these videos. I really can only recommend to look at the different options you have and see which one you like the most. Then you will need someone to practice with. This is very important because a language doesn't really exist in a vacuum. It exists because people use it to communicate with each other. So having someone to practice communication with is really important. I would advise you to join a Discord community because there you can ask questions, you can find more resources, and you have tons of people to practice with. There are two major communities, which is the Natvi and Kelutral. I will show you both of them. Here we are in the Kelutral Discord server. You can find here a server guide where you can find more tips for getting started with learning Natvi. And one very important thing is the how to use Kelutral thing here, because it gives you a bunch of tips on how to join classes in the server, where to ask questions, where to practice with others. So it shows you just a bunch of useful places you can go in the server. Next, of course, you might want to join lessons, and for that you can either go here to the events tab. There you see all the lessons of the week. So right now, because it's already Friday, most has already happened, I think. Every Monday evening, European evening, the lesson schedule will be uploaded, and then you can find all the lessons that happen during the week here. Alternatively, you can also go to the questions and practice channel, and there you will find in the pinned messages always the week schedule. As I said, this will be posted usually Monday evenings, sometimes Thursday mornings when I'm too tired on Monday evenings. But yeah, there you find also the schedule The next important channel here for you is the learning resources. Of course, directly after this video, you should go to pronunciation. There you see different resources you can use for learning pronunciation. But you can also find tons of grammar resources. So you see there's really a lot of choice for you here. For you, important, of course, are the ones that are marked with a B for beginner friendly. Also, words and phrases. There you find again all the dictionaries and some word lists and vocab decks. Stuff for practicing. So, for example, worksheets, other resources where you find tips for typing, learning plans, so very random other things. So there's really a lot to find here. And one last place that I want to show you in the Keltra Discord is the NatWi study clubs. In the NatWi study clubs, you can join study clubs, which are just small clubs that practice by doing different things, or also NatWi projects. Everyone can join everything. There is no gatekeeping here that you need to be a certain level. You can just already learn by read what other people do. So looking through these clubs here and see what might be interesting for you can be really useful. Then, of course, as I said, there's also the Learn NatWi Discord, which also has lessons. So if you go there first on the events tab, you see what lessons happen. So there you can also go in interested to say that you want to join the lesson and then just join. Whenever it starts, you can just join the stage channel. So there are also a bunch of different classes about different topics. Next, of course, the resource section also has a bunch of different things. Some of them are the same as in the Keltra Discord, but there are also some other ones. So it makes actually sense to be in both servers to see both different resource channels to make use of everything. And also because if you're in both servers, you can join classes from both. There are also grammar resources, vocab resources, lessons, and practice resources. So there's a bunch of interesting things here. There's also, of course, in the NatWi Now channel where you can practice your NatWi writing, and a classroom channel where you can ask questions about the NatWi language. There's also the German learning group. I will not say much about it. It is also linked in the video description, of course. If you are German and you want to learn in an actual learning group, so you have a teacher and a set group and you meet with that group every single week, then you can join the Deutsche Lerngruppe. I will not say much about it because this video is in English, but if you are German, definitely come by, come in, and yeah, maybe you can one day join my group there because I'm also teaching there. By the way, you can find me in all 3 servers, so if you have questions about this course, you can always reach me on Discord, no matter if in Keltra, in Learn NatWi, or in the NatWi Lerngruppe. You can also always reach me via DM, of course. And I'm actually teaching both in the German Lerngruppe, but also in Keltra. I'm teaching every Sunday and sometimes some random other lessons. And lastly, what you will need is initiative and motivation. Language learning doesn't work automatically. You have to work for it and you have to show initiative to use the resources that are available. We cannot make you learn the language. We cannot magically help you that suddenly you know everything. You have to sit down and study. You have to practice and you really have to actively make use of the things we offer. Okay, now you have some resources. Next, you should learn about pronunciation. Listen to others doing it, so you should not just learn it from a document, you should really listen to it. And practice it yourself. This is really important. It is totally fine to make mistakes. Only by doing mistakes you will be able to improve. So don't be shy, don't be scared of making mistakes. We all started there. We all make tons of mistakes. So it's totally fine. Practice it yourself. That will really be the best way to learn it. Then learn some common phrases. Use them in chat with others. Within the NatWi community, try to always use those NatWi phrases you learned instead of the English ones. Luckily, this video course will get you started with this because the next 3 videos in this course actually will cover some very basic words and very basic phrases for small talk, introducing yourself. But you can also, of course, ask people in the community to give you some common phrases to learn. And then grammar. Use the resources you found to learn different grammar concepts step by step. And always practice a lot, which is also a very important part, practice. I put it here again because practice really is the most important step. So always make sure to practice everything you learned a lot. If you think you are done practicing, practice a bit more just to be sure. What about vocab? I mentioned vocab at the side a bit, but it isn't in my overview. And the truth is, if you practice a lot, you will learn the often used words automatically because you will look them up and use them, and then you forget them again, so you look them up again the next time you need them. And after a while, you know them automatically. You can use flashcards. They can be useful, but they are not sufficient on their own because just learning a word out of context on a flashcard, that doesn't really do much. Yes, then you are good at translating the singular word, but then you will not be good at using it in context. So really practicing sentences will help you more with vocab than just doing flashcards. Now the big question, do I need to speak? Many people come to the community and they don't want to speak in voice chat because they're shy, they don't dare to because they might make mistakes and so on and so forth. But the truth is, skill needs practice in order to develop. And with that I mean all the different language skills that there are. So reading, listening, writing, and also speaking. These are the 4 main language skills and all of them need to be practiced if you want to be good at them. You can't learn to speak Na'vi just by listening to it or just reading it. You will also not learn to write just by reading. If you want to be able to speak Na'vi, you will need to speak Na'vi. You need to practice it a lot. And it really never is too early to jump into voice chat and to practice, even if it's just some set phrases, some stock phrases. Speaking at all, with mistakes, with just reading out sentences, is better than not speaking at all. So start speaking as soon as possible, start being brave and go into voice chat as soon as possible. The people who go into voice chat and actually use the language are the people that learn it the fastest. What I already touched on a few times is that learning is work. You will not magically learn the language, like with any language. It takes time. It can take months if to be conversational. Probably if you study a lot, it will be quicker. I think Jake learned for 3 months and he is not the best learner. But to be fluent, depending on what your definition of fluent is, it might take years. Consistency is key. You need to study every day. Studying once in a month for 10 hours straight doesn't really help much. You need to study a bit every single day. You need to use the language, as I said, practice, practice, practice. One tip for that is find fun things to do with the language. For me it is gaming, so I do let's plays in Na'vi, I do streams in Na'vi, and that is a fun way to engage with the language for me. You can write stories, you can include Na'vi lines in your avatar fanfiction, whatever. You can write or translate songs. Anything that makes you use the language while having fun is good. Mistakes are your friends. Many people come and are scared of making mistakes, which is really the worst mindset one can have. I understand where it comes from. I had it too, because in school, if you make a mistake, you get a worse grade. So you try to avoid making mistakes. We are not a school, we don't give grades, so you should do the opposite. You should strive to make as many mistakes as possible. Of course, not actively, but use the language as much as possible and be fine with making mistakes, because then people can correct you. And from those corrections you will learn and you will do better the next time. So making mistakes is nothing to be scared of. It's something that everyone does. And help others to help yourself. If you know something, then you can teach it. I don't say you have to become a big teacher and make voice chat lessons every week and whatever. But if someone asks a question and you know the answer, you don't need to wait for someone with a teacher role in Discord to answer the question. You can answer it yourself if you know it already. Because explaining concepts to others actually is the best way to repeat it yourself and to remember it better in the future. Some common mistakes, some of which I already touched on, but I want to mention again. Literal translation. You cannot translate something literally from English to Na'vi. It's the same like you also cannot literally translate from English to German, or from German to English, or from English to Chinese. It just doesn't work. There are different grammar structures, there are different idioms. So you will have to learn the grammar and then learn how to translate things in a way that it fits with the NATVI concepts. Word types is a very big thing. In English, we can use one word in many different situations. For example, love. Love can be a noun, the love, but it can also be a verb, I love you. In NATVI, that doesn't really work. In NATVI, a word usually is either a noun or a verb or an adjective or so on. So make sure to always learn the word types when learning a word. Not enough practice, we already talked about this enough. You have to practice. You have to interact with others. You should never wait for lessons. I see that unfortunately a lot that people say, oh, I cannot learn because there are no lessons this week, or the lessons this week are not on my level. There are never enough lessons. Because even though on Kelutra there are sometimes 7 lessons a week, they are all on different topics. Now everyone in the community, which is multiple thousand people, is on a different stage in their learning journey. So making lessons that appeal to everyone is literally impossible. You can join lessons, it can be very fun and it can be helpful to repeat stuff or to learn about it in more depth and to have the possibility to practice with others live. That's really nice, but most of your learning has to be on your own. It has to be using the resources that exist. And yeah, study and practice on your own. So never wait for lessons, because there are not enough lessons to just learn the language from it. You will have to study on your own. Now the last big point, which grammar should I learn as a beginner? This is a recommendation. This is not the one perfect way to learn NATVI. Specifically in the beginning, it's important that you first learn about simple sentences, so stuff like I eat, and also sentences with to be, so Netiri is a hunter, and stuff like that. And focus a bit on learning about the differences between English and NATVI. So in those simple sentences, what does NATVI do differently from English? Then next you should learn about some case endings. So important here is to learn what does VTR mean and what does VIN mean. What is the subject, what's the direct object, then maybe already the indirect object and the genitive. It will make more sense once you actually look at some grammar resources. But then after that, you have a few different options, and I just put one possibility here. You could learn about adjectives next, so the dog is fast versus I see the fast dog, and how to use multiple adjectives on the same word. From that, it makes sense to go to clause attribution, so making subclauses like the dog that runs fast. And when you already learned about subclauses, then F words are a logical next step, or other conjunctions. You could at some point also learn about infixes, so those are things that go into verbs to change their meaning. But there are tons of things that I didn't mention here, so learning how to use adverbs, learning how to use adpositions, learning how to do other things. So there are so many things that you can learn about. I really think that simple sentences and case endings are the first 2 steps you should take. Then adjectives also make sense, but after that you're actually really free in what you want to do and what you need at the moment. And clause attribution and infix is just one idea, one possible path you could take. But of course, if you followed this video course, then I kinda already decided for you what to learn in which order. It is not the perfect order. It is not the one way to do this. It is just one possible thing that I thought made sense at the time. There might be better orders out there, and you will see other resources take another order, and that is fine. So what next? Study pronunciation. That is definitely the next step you should take, because before learning about anything else, you should learn how to pronounce the things you're seeing in front of you. As I said already, this course does not include pronunciation, because I'm not really confident in teaching how to pronounce things, as my pronunciation is not perfect. But I will link some things in the video description, so make sure to look at that. That was it for this video. Lucy Baum Ngarusrak? Nejay Baum. So do you have any questions? Just ask. As always, you can reach me on Discord or via email. You can also, of course, just write comments here and ask your questions there. If you want to support me, you can do that on Patreon. And the next video will be useful words. So some useful words like hello, goodbye, thank you, please, stuff like that. And If you are just here for the grammar lesson, so if you don't want to do all the listening nonsense, then you can just jump immediately to the simple sentences video, which is grammar 2. Hi, ja, dov'è, ma frappo?